Hi Z's, it's Charlie back again with another little tutorial, and today I'm going to talk about choosing a drag name. It's something that is essential to being a performer, um, and it's something that is, I guess, an art in itself. So we're gonna go over some do's and don'ts for choosing a drag name. So let's just get into it. But before we start, I just want to shout out my merch. Ooh, 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 ooh. So this shirt is available at Mr. Bear in Montreal. If you're ever in town, come grab one. They're super comfy, 100% cotton. Um, and it's just like comes in every color, every size, and it will get you laid. So pick up your Charlie shirt today. So the first do for choosing a drag name is to think about what you want your brand to be. There's a lot of different styles of drag. There's like horror, comedy, like yeah, I think, well, those are the kind of the main ones. So you need to think about what kind of drag you want to do, and you want to pick a name that gives people an idea of what they're getting themselves into when they book you, when they see you. Like, you know, if you're going for a horror name, you kind of might be trapped and pigeonholed into doing horror. So consider that. A lot of people choose like a comedy name that is a pun, or it's like a joke off of a famous person's name or a play on words. That also doesn't always work, especially if the joke is like doesn't last forever. If it's going to be a joke, it kind of has to be a timeless joke. And you know, if people don't get it, like there's that. So you know, also if it's spelled like phonetically, they might not understand the jokes. Like I think one of the RuPaul girls, Akira Chanel, is supposed to be I carry a Chanel, but it's like pretty far off from the actual phrase, even when you say it out loud. So that's something that, you know, to keep in mind. For me, my name came because I entered this like drag competition, and I had, I think, 2 weeks to pick a name. So I went with the old school route, which was you take your first pet and your street name and you mix it together, and that's where my name came from. It's not like a joke or anything, like a play on words. And I feel like mine is quite versatile. I can be like a woman, it's androgynous, and it's not of a particular era, or it's like not a joke. So it allows me to be more flexible with what I do. Another do is to, once you've picked a name or you think you're in the realm of something that you want to choose for yourself, you want to Google it, first of all, to make sure that somebody doesn't already have that name. My name is quite close to a porn star, and I guess sometimes autocorrect or something will suggest the porn star over me. So that's something that I didn't do. I didn't Google it before. So that's, I mean, it's not the end of the world. People know that it's not me, hopefully. But yeah, you wanna Google it. You wanna just see if it's been taken, basically, by somebody in another city. Even there's a lot of resources online of like drag performers, Facebook groups, stuff like that. So there are people have started kind of documenting names. I know in North America, for us, like a lot of us, myself included, travel quite a lot. So even though you don't think that you will come across somebody with the same name as you, you might, or you might, you know, meet somebody who has a similar name. So something to consider. And once you've chosen your name, another do is to test it out with your friends, to tell people what you think your name is going to be. And this is like another way of kind of filtering out, like sometimes people think that they have the most clever name, or they think that it's like a joke that's really easily understood, but it's not. So your friends will be a good resource for you to let you know if your name sucks or if it's good, or if they think it's funny. If they kind of give you like a blank stare, it's like maybe time to rework it a little bit. And if you don't have friends, you can always test it online. They're like go into forums, whatever, like drag support groups. People will be there to help you out online, as they always are. So don't be afraid to test it out before with people that will be honest with you. Another do before picking a drag name is to get a sense of the performers in your area, in your city, what their names are. For me, like mine sounds kind of similar to another performer, and sometimes people mix our names up because of the sound of it, even though both of the names are quite different. There are usually a lot of like Justins that are already taken, just in case, just in time, just in whatever, in your wife, like something like that is kind of usually taken, and you kind of don't want it to be like forgettable like that. So maybe try to avoid, there's a lot of like Wills, there's a lot of Maxes, so maybe, yeah, try to make sure that there's nobody else in your city that has one like that already, because people will mix you up. There are even queens in my city who have the same first name, same last name, and people get them mixed up all the time. So try to come up with something that's unique to you, that's like creative. Try to, you know, spend a little bit of time before you decide what to go with. And then once you do, right away get on Instagram and get on Facebook and like claim that name for yourself, because somebody else might be thinking of doing that or coming up with a similar one. So as soon as you have a good feeling about the name that you're choosing, get on Instagram. Even if you don't post anything right away, just like make an account. It's really free, simple, easy, with that name, and that will be another way for you to see if the name has been taken by someone else. So go on Instagram. Instagram is probably the best resource for drag right now. It's kind of got the most content, so that's where a lot of the performers will be. So let's say you've chosen your name and you like it and there's nobody else using it, but you go to do your performances and hosts have a hard time figuring out what your name is, or they will over and over again say your name wrong, and it's like not one host, it's like multiple hosts, or most of the shows that you do, they'll introduce you and they'll just say like some name that's not even close, or just they won't get the joke or whatever it is. If this happens over and over, don't be afraid to change your name, especially if you're kind of just starting out. This is like a good time, you know, people expect that you will be playing around a little bit around the beginning. You're not going to be like solidified, and you probably don't have a ton of followers or anything like that people will lose you or forget you if you change your name. It happens all the time. I like had a different name when I first started that was way different, but I realized that it wasn't me at all, so I changed it. I had that name for like 2 months maybe, and totally changed it, changed like my whole performing style, everything. So don't be afraid to change your name. It's not like it's the end of the world. You don't have to go and like re-register or anything like that. It's just you can make a post on your account to be like, hey, by the way, I'm changing my name to this, go follow me over here. If you already do have some followers, they will, or just, you know, you can just change your name on Instagram. You don't have to change the account or anything. So that's a nice way to just kind of like switch it out. I think, you know, it just is kind of like a bummer, I guess, to be like introduced, and you know, they really kind of rile the audience up. They're like, oh, this person's so great, blah blah blah, welcome to the stage, blah blah blah, and they just like butcher your name, and then you kind of have to like pump yourself up again to be like, ah, dang, they like said my name wrong, but like I'm just gonna have to kill it anyways, you know. But if you want to kind of avoid all of that, then don't go for a name that's like really complex, that's really long. A lot of times, like I host as well, so I'll have like just a cue card, and I can't be bothered to be like reading. You know, obviously, if they're a good host, they'll do their research before and they'll ask you how to pronounce your name and everything. But if it's pretty ambiguous, if it's like not clear how to pronounce it, you probably will run into these issues over and over. And instead of like having to just deal with it, I would suggest to just change your name. If no host is getting it, like the audience probably isn't getting it too. One of the don'ts for picking a name is don't overthink it. Don't try to like, you know, lose sleep over picking a name. A lot of people just pick like whatever, or a name is assigned to you if you have like a drag parent or something. Yeah, just try not to like think too hard. It's not rocket science, and a lot of time like your performing style will hopefully change and modernize and adapt over time. So you want to be as able as possible to kind of allow yourself to do that. If you think about like pop stars and their fake names, Madonna, Lady Gaga, like they're pretty generic. They kind of allow the performers to like be what they want. It doesn't necessarily give you a sense of like who they are. It does a little bit, but you're not fixated on that. So try to go with something maybe a little bit more generic than something that is like a flavor of the month, or you know, something that is gonna be outdated. Something really like meme culture-y might not last very long. So in like, if you're still doing it 10 years down the road and it's this old joke that like is not funny, it's kind of boring for you. It doesn't give the audience a sense of who you are. So I would suggest to go with something a little bit more generic than to go with something that is like modern or like timely, that is dependent on kind of right now, because it might be lame later. My final don't is don't change your name too often. This can be something that alienates you from your audience, from producers. They're trying to find you and you changed your name, they're not going to be able to find you, you might lose some gigs. So if you are going to change your name, like maybe do it one time and that's it. It can be annoying for somebody to change their name too often. That's why I think it's good to go with something generic so that you don't have to. If you decide like you wanted to do horror at the beginning, but then you want to go comedy or you want to go more clown, you kind of can't be like comedy with a name like, I don't know, Bloody whatever. So I mean, you could, it's fine, do whatever you want, but it just gives, you know, your viewership an idea. They're expecting bloody girl and they're, you know, you're coming out and you're doing like joking stuff. So that's why, again, I think it's good to go with something a little bit more generic or something funny, and then you can do whatever you want with your performance. Just don't change your name too much. And I think those are all of the tips that I have. Let me know in the comments like what your name is. I know a lot of people, they think about this a lot, even if you don't perform, you like to think about what your name would be. So let me know what you think your name would be or what your name is right now, and I will judge you accordingly for that. So yeah, follow me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, and don't forget about this guy. Okay, bye, till next time. Mwah.